Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy Thanksgiving to those who are observing here in the US of A. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and I'm filling in for Mr. Red O'Loughlin. This is the Corner Bookstore on USA Global TV and Radio, where we truly are a global network. Our show today, the Corner Bookstore, features one of our very own team members, a TV presenter and panelist who is on A Woman's Prerogative. We have the wonderful, beautiful, dynamic, I could go on, and I will, creative genius, someone who is so in touch with spirit and with helping others across the world. She is also an author, a registered nurse. She is an expert when it comes to balancing chakras. She's an inventor. Let's see, what am I missing? It's Reverend Lydia Fougeres. Let's welcome her from Canada. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you?
I'm super. How are you today?
I am good. Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure. Always a pleasure to see you, by the way. And thank you and hello to everyone.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here with us. And considering you started as a guest and now you are on one of our TV shows is just amazing. So I love the evolution and I love the fact that you're open and you're willing to learn new things because you've already accomplished so much. I know I forgot some of the things that you've done, but let's, since we are in the Corner Bookstore, let's talk a little bit about your work as an author. So what is it that inspired you to start writing and then to get published?
Well, what inspired me? Well, I was reading many reflection books and I was thinking to myself, I was always writing reflections, and I would actually share my reflections with other people. And at one point, someone told me, why don't you ever write about what you think? Because it's important. I just did not know if I should do it or not. And finally, I took the decision of doing it because, as people told me, it mattered and I could make a difference with my reflections, with the way I was looking at life. So I have a different way of looking at life sometimes, and that is what pushed me to write the books. So
Thank you for
that is
sharing
it.
that. Yeah, I feel like you and I have a number of things in common. Like one thing for me, it is Thanksgiving. Here, you already had your Thanksgiving, but to me, every day is Thanksgiving because there's so many things to be thankful for. And I know that you embrace that mindset as well. So you had a very demanding career as a nurse, and you learned so much from people and about the human spirit and how people will sometimes give up and sometimes push through. So can you share in your own words, what were some of those key learnings as a healthcare professional?
Well, happy Thanksgiving to everyone, by the way. I had completely forgotten about it. I'm sorry. Um, Okay, about being a nurse. Well, we see suffering every single day. And the important thing is that we have to actually avoid judgment because when a person is sick, they sometimes act in a different way as when they are healthy. Sometimes they can be mean, and normally in their life, they are not mean at all. So, and it is not time for judgment. Actually, when they are sick, it is actually the time to be even more patient and tolerant with them. It is not time neither to actually try to 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 change them. I have examples of, I was assistant head nurse. I have examples actually of nurses that would come to me and say, okay, that person does not speak my language. Why are they here? We're talking about immigration naturally. But the thing I would say is that that person is a human being to start with. If they do not speak your language, it is not a problem. When people have trouble, they do sign language. So work with your head. Imagine, work with your imagination. There's always a way to reach a person. When a person is ill, we have to make the most of it. We have to be kind. We have to be tolerant. We have to know that they are at their worst. So it is not time to actually lose it. We have to understand that there is death, there is suffering, they are in financial difficulty, they cannot go to work, uh, they are isolated from their family, they are afraid because what is more scary than being sick? So that is, they are very afraid. We have to be kind to them. We have to be absolutely kind to them because people do not understand being sick, being afraid, being financially unstable. They do not understand that because they live in some kind of pink world where they do not understand what it is to be in a hospital setting where actually things are awkward. It is noisy. When someone has a super duper migraine, I would say, and they're in the corridor, and then everyone is going by, and they push on their bed, and they certainly are not at their best. So yes, they might be angry, but we have to understand that this is a circumstance. They are not angry people. This is a situation. It is not the person that is angry, it is the situation that makes them angry. We do have to understand that, yes, we do not have to be tolerant to people that actually scream at us or things like that, but we have to be understanding and loving. We have to be compassionate also, because after all, learning to be compassionate is easy because there's compassion in every human being. They just have to find it because we all have an inner light. Everyone has an inner light. We just have to find it. We just have to look for it because everyone is good. The only problem is that people take bad decisions. That is the only thing I have to say.
You made some excellent points there. And what I really enjoyed was just talking about judgment, because if you think of someone, and I've known this situation to happen, someone's lying on a gurney in the hallway, and people are just pushing fast, and the person's upset because they're in a drafty place. It's, they don't know what's going to happen to them. Can you talk a little bit about the fact I've been told that anger is really manifesting pain?
Yes, yes. Usually people, it does manifest in pain. It actually manifests also when people are dying, but actually, um, there are 5 stages actually when people, they go from denial and they go to anger, they're trying to talk to God, even if they do not believe in God. They just try to, they just try to trade. I will be good. Do this if I get out of the hospital, if I survive to this. Then they go into some kind of depression state. Then they accept the situation. But anger is usually one of the first stages that they go through when they are ill or when they know they will pass. Because what happens is that they are afraid. So when a person is afraid, they will manifest anger. Instead of saying, I am afraid, they will be angry. So you have to know that the person actually is not angry, they are afraid. So you have to be able to read a person's emotion, and you have to understand what happens in a person's mind. You have to have an open mind, actually. You have to know that if the person is angry, they're afraid. That is it. They're not angry, they're afraid. That's the way it
Brilliant.
is.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Would you say outside of health concerns that when people in partnerships and relationships and they're having this anger that they're holding on to, does that relate to the chakras? And if so, can you tell us a little bit more?
Yes, actually, when the chakras are unbalanced, because there are 7 chakras, well, there are more than 7 chakras, but we usually work with 7 chakras. They are unbalanced. The heart chakra usually will be unbalanced. It will be, it will not be, it will be as very, very slow. And also, when there are chakras like the root chakra, the solar plexus chakra, where actually when they're imbalanced, that touches friendship, that touches work. Those chakras, when they are unbalanced, they will cause stir problems, and they will actually lead to confusion. They will lead to a lot of disasters around the person because the atoms don't move as fast. And all you have to do is balance the chakras, and things are going to get smoother, easier, and life will get better for these people because everything works from cause to effect. The cause is unbalanced chakras, and balanced chakras give the effect of a balanced life. So that is the way it works.
And is the balancing of the chakras something that people can do on a regular basis? Is it let's set for one time a year? I'm gonna have my chakras balanced. How does that work?
Well, usually people come to me regularly to balance their chakras because every single day there's something happening. Every single day they could meet negative people, their environment, their family, their friends could. So when they feel that they're out of touch, they actually should come back to me, and I balance their chakras. I help, and I also make them see what is going on because I also look at the cause of the problem. I do not only balance the chakras because I'm a holistic nurse also, so I studied for that. So I'm a retired holistic nurse, but I studied. So I just did not decide that I balance chakras, that is all. No, I actually studied as a professional. I was representative of the Canadian Holistic Nurse Association for my province. And the thing is that we have to see that chakras, yes, are the problem, but actually, we have to see from the cause to the effect, and we have to see the surrounding of the person. The person's surrounding is extremely important. And by actually studying the environment of the person, we can solve a lot of problems and stop them from coming over and over and over again. We can solve the problem quite well.
Thank you so much, Reverend. You mentioned holistic nurse, and to some people out there, they might think holistic and nurse, how does that go together? So, do you incorporate traditional pharmaceuticals in the work that you do, or are they alternative medicine approaches? They're both, maybe.
Yes, we do. We holistic nurses, we are registered nurses. We believe very much in the science. We believe extremely in the science, but also we add alternative medicine. So we will use guided imagery. I am also an expert in guided imagery. I create guided imageries for everybody, whatever the situation. I can write specific guided imageries for their benefit, because sometimes repeating the same thing, it makes them go in some kind of a trance for them to actually feel better. They I actually wrote guided imagery for people that could not walk. And I'm not calling miracle here. I'm just stating facts. Guided imageries for people that could not walk. And after listening to those guided imageries that were tailored for them, they walked after several months. So it is possible that extreme things happen with holistic medicine, like guided imageries, Reiki, balancing chakra. I am a master in Reiki also, balancing chakras, quantum touch. I am an instructor in quantum touch. So all those things actually can be incorporated to science, but we do not let go of the doctor. I am totally against letting go of the doctor, because we work in synchronicity with the doctors, because it is very important that you keep on seeing your doctor. Any illness, you see your doctor or someone sees their psychiatrist, they never stop their medication if they go holistic. It is extremely important that they mix both worlds very well. And if someone tells them in a holistic practice to stop their medication, that is wrong. That is not professional at all. And this is a very bad idea.
Doctor, I love the passion that you're sharing about how you feel about this. And I'd love to have you share a little bit for people who are interested in writing, for example. They don't have the passion, but they have so many stories inside them. And so you're an expert with reflections also. So we can actually get our feelings on paper by writing a book and then having it published. And that in return can help someone else who's going through something similar. What are your thoughts about what I said?
I think that everyone actually can do it. It's important because every reflection, good or negative, brings something to someone else. Because when I talk to someone, I learn from them every time, from a toddler to any age. I always learn. So I am not the one that teaches. I do teach things, but actually, I learn from everyone I see and talk to. Everyone has a story to tell. So we have to do active listening, like you are so good in teaching. We have to be active listener and learn from the other ones that actually have something to say. It is not, we do not, people, people have a tendency to, to listen to answer. So why not listen just to listen, not answer? That is all.
And
Just
yet, what seemingly would be something that comes naturally is not natural. And I'll just share something quick, and then I'd love to have you dovetail off what I'm saying. I recently taught setting boundaries and asking permission, and I asked each person to come up and do a role play with me. And long and short of it is, I said the only thing you need to do in this role play is to say yes, excuse me, or I don't have the time. Sorry, my throat is starting. I'm going to turn over to you. Can you talk a little bit more about using role plays as ways of getting feelings out?
Yes, role play is extremely important. Actually, when we work in psychiatry, we use role play very much. We use a lot of role play because the thing is that our patients are clients, but I always call them patients because you got to be very patient to be in a hospital. So we use role play because the thing is that we actually, when we teach someone something to someone, actually, we role play with them because the thing is that if we want to help them talk to, let's say, their mother or their wife, well, we will play the role of the wife, the mother, and we will role play with them. And it is excellent. Role play is absolutely amazing. You can get a lot from role play because it's important for them to understand, but it's important for them to practice also because practice makes perfect. That is the way it is. It is role play is extremely important in a professional world. It is extremely important, but also in a family, it's extremely important because parents can role play with their children. Let us say their children goes to the park. They can role play with their children about the dangers. One child can be the aggressor, the parent can be actually the child, and they can role play about what to do if something happens, if a stranger comes to them, and role play those situations because it is better to role play than just to explain because they see it with their eyes and they hear it also. Role playing is excellent, absolutely excellent.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. I totally agree with you. We were running some role plays that would bring up judgments that people have. And even though we ask someone just for their time, just to listen, sometimes we are already judging if they share a little bit about what the topic is. We're no longer listening. We're like, she wants to talk to me about what? And then we go down this path about whatever the issue is, which doesn't mean it really is an issue, but in our mind, it's now an issue. So I think with the incredible work that you're doing in so many areas, you can help people break through and realize that we are judging, and how do we actually learn the skill of listening and then listening to our own bodies. So if you can talk now a little bit about, we talked about role playing, but how do we listen to our own bodies when they're showing up? Like my throat has been strange for the last few days, and one could say, well, that's because you're not expressing yourself, and maybe that's the case, I'm not sure, but it does seem like our bodies do talk to us, and many times we just try to ignore that there is a message. And from spirituality, each symptom or whatever we're manifesting is rooted in something, isn't it?
Exactly, exactly. Let us say a person has a problem with their legs. Usually it's because they have problems going forward. If it's they have stiff knees, they will be stiff in their life, actually. So that is the body actually explains to the person, hey, listen, you're going through this transition. Could you help me? So the body actually triggers the person to think about what they are doing in life on a psychological level. And if the person listens to their body, actually, they will be able to take a good look at themselves. take a good look in the mirror and say, what am I doing wrong? Or what am I doing right? So that is it. And yes, the throat has something to do with expressing. I agree with you, but actually, there is not always, it's not 100% a cause. Sometimes it is that we screamed because we had to do many conferences, just like you did, because you just came back from a very important travel. So sometimes it has nothing to do with expressing yourself. Sometimes it has to do with your body being exhausted. So your body, it is expressing the fact that you are exhausted when it comes to speaking, because the thing is that you had to speak a lot, you had to express yourself a lot, and it does not necessarily hide any specific emotion about you're not expressing yourself right. Sometimes it is because you talk too much. That is all. Just like you're overworked. That is your body saying, "Hey, doctor, you're overworked." That is the way it is.
I love that you share that. So everything is not always based in spirituality. It could just be a result of what we're actually doing. So if you think about college students, for example, or people who are studying for specific exams, maybe it's the bar exam or whatever it might be, they're mentally going to shut down at some point because there's only so much room in the brain to store information. Is that accurate?
Yes, the person will start forgetting things because it's not that there's too much information. It's just that sometimes they go in overload. So if they go in overload, what happens is that when they're in overload, what happens is they will forget. They will forget little things because their concentration is on other things. So they cannot be alert 100% all the time. It's impossible. No one is ever alert 100%. So they will forget little things while they remember very very important things. And that is what happens in times of exams. We become very forgetful in our everyday life because our mind is on what we are studying instead of our life. So sometimes we can be late. We have many things to think about when it comes to exams. And the thing also is that let's talk about exam 2 seconds. When we start an exam, I want people to know that every college student, every university student, whoever has an exam, the exam is not about proving yourself, okay? Because the teacher actually knows that you know your material. Okay, we assume you know your material because the thing is that you went to class, you read your books, you know the material. We know that. The fact is that the exam is just in front of you because you just have to show others that you know your material. It is no more than that. So you take 5 deep inhalation, exhalation, then you start your exam. But breathe 5 times very deeply before starting your exam. Because the thing is that it's not a judgment, an exam. An exam is there to actually show that you know what you saw, what you heard. No more than that. They know you know.
So it's basically retention based.
Exactly.
Now, on that same line of conversation, I've always been told that men, the male gender, has compartments in their brain, like a sock drawer, and you put something here and you put something there. And that's how they're able to retrieve. It's a generalization. They're able to retrieve information, whereas with women, our wires are all over the place. So is compartmentalization, is that a good way to store information? So for example, right now I'm working today. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm just thinking about doing a good show, my throat staying. So is that a way for success, or to keep your body and mind and spirit in balance by keeping your head where your feet are, so to say?
Yes, it is a good way. It is a very good way because sometimes, people start to do all kinds of activities. And when you're actually doing one kind of activity, let us say you are in a something very serious, it is not time to start three, four things at the time. And yes, men have a tendency to think just like one thing at a time, but they are perfectionists. While women, we multitask. We think about 1,000 things at the same time. We cannot think about just one thing because our mind is absolutely busy. That is what happens. So what happens is that a man will actually, let's go and talk about just fishing. A man will go there and he will go fish and fish for 10 hours. And someone will say, what were you thinking about? Nothing. Nothing. That's all they will say. And you know what? He is telling the truth. He was not thinking about anything. With a woman, it's a lot more different. We have trouble. We really do have trouble thinking only one thing at a time. I have this thing. I love fishing, so I am like men when it comes to thinking, but I meditate. So that helps me a lot. So when I actually fish, I meditate. It's a form of meditation. So everyone should actually try to find a way to meditate, which is not only sitting and waiting for the ideas to leave, because there are all kinds of ways of meditating to keep from always thinking many things at the same time. So someone can crochet. Crochet is difficult, but someone can crochet and actually it will help their brain stay focused and not think about many things at the time. That is the way we have to do. We have to stay focused. Whatever we are doing, we have to stay focused and not think about 1,000 things at a time. Men are good, but women also have a different way of dealing with matters.
So I hope that helps a number of people who are out there, especially for people who are celebrating a holiday. There's a lot of stress that comes with holidays, and people have expectations, and people are thinking this is going to happen, that's going to happen, but we can't read someone else's mind. But maybe if we start to put ourselves into other people's shoes and imagine what it must be, whether it's a patient who's lying on a gurney, or if it is someone hosting a dinner, for example. I think in order to be more compassionate and understanding, think about what could that person be going through, and then ask them if they want to share with you, and truly listen. Show up and truly listen instead of judging, blaming, coming up with a solution. That's a lot to ask of someone when people are just focused on doing things the way that they like to do them. So, Reverend, what would you say are some tips for people who are interested in making positive contributions? They're interested in embracing affirmations, reflections, meditation, but they don't know how to begin.
Well, actually, there is, they can use a hobby that does not actually ask a lot of concentration. They can do a hobby that actually, like woodworking, as I was saying, fishing, hiking, things like that, that actually they will feel invigorated doing those hobbies, and or read. reading is very good for the mind. Actually, it elevates the concentration a lot. People that read a lot have a very high level of concentration. I know that. I started reading at 5 and I never stopped reading. So the fact is that people can do that to help themselves, but also people can write what they are thinking, because once it's written, you are kind of rid of it. It's like it's written, it's over, and then you can go to something else. And that is the way it is. You can also use self-help books, like my book, my books, Tome One, Tome Two. Those self-help books actually help you reflect. You can take one reflection and you reflect on what does it mean to you, because a reflection that I wrote might not mean the same thing to someone else. They can have a totally different opinion that I have, and that is what is the challenge. The challenge actually is to read a reflection instead of reading the entire book. There's 111 reflections per book. And the thing is just to stay on one reflection and work on it. Work on it for an entire day. So that makes 111 days. Because the thing is that if you work on one reflection per day, instead of trying to read 111 reflections, you will learn much more. And if you have my two books, well, you have 222 reflections, so you have for 222 days. But the thing is that the year after, you can read the book again, go back to the reflection, and since you have changed, events have happened, you have matured, you know much more about life, the reflection that you worked on, and that I hope that people will actually write down what they are learning from the reflection, because it's their point of view. I'm not there for them to learn my point of view. I'm there for them to learn to think about what they think about the reflection. And they write it down, they work on it during the day, they jot ideas. But the year after, when they look at it, they realize, oh, I was thinking like that last year, but this year it's different. Well, it's different because the person has changed. That is why. So those books actually they can be worked on every single year. You buy those books, but you never put them away because you always change. There's always something that happens, makes you mature, makes you better. And you see, I use my own books to reflect. I use my books to become more mature myself. So that is the way it is.
Reverend, thank you so much for sharing that about reflections and affirmations and even transformations and how we can look at something a different way or read something and interpret it a different way. As we come to the end of the show, would you please share some of your reflections from your books?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I have here my book, and you will see that you have the reflections here, and you have places to jot down ideas. So you can do it this way, but what I consider a person should do is instead of writing in the book, they should take a notebook and use the notebook and write in the notebook and write the year they have decided to work on the reflection. So in tome 2, reflection 79, there I wrote, what is important in a matter is that you let go of how it matters. So you see, sometimes a matter is extremely important to you, but when you think about it, when you really think about the matter, is it so important? Is it going to change the world? Is it going to change your life? So what mattered to you doesn't really matter after all, because it has no repercussions. So that is the way it is. So we actually let go of something because after all, we realized we thought it mattered, but it does not matter at all. It doesn't change anything to our life. We also have here that love is blind. Oh, yes. They say love is blind. So why are you looking for the ugliness in her? Her would be him also, because so everyone looks at someone with their eyes, not their heart. Everyone is beautiful. Absolutely everyone is beautiful. There's beauty in everyone. But people have a tendency to judge by the envelope, which is the body, what they see. They think that when a person is good looking, they will be better, which is not true at all. A person is a kind person, compassionate person, no matter how they look, what's their religion, what is their language. So, no matter what, if a person is nice, is kind, has altruism, nothing can stop you if you look with your heart and not your eyes. That is the way you have to look at people, with your heart, not with your eyes. So, do not look. I am not talking to you personally, I'm talking to the general public. People should not look at the cover, they should look at what is inside, because what is inside doesn't seem much, but actually there is a lot, because it makes you think. It's not how many words there are, it's what those words mean.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Reverend. We didn't even get into your inventions I could listen to all day, but unfortunately, we have another show coming up. So we have your website here. We have your information. We're going to show your website. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
The best way actually to reach out for me is to actually write to me in on www.lydiafougeres.com, or my email, greatdivinemother@gmail.com. So I repeat, greatdivinemother@gmail.com. And my phone number is 5141 in Canada, 1-514-582-6882. 1-514-582-6882. And there's Diva Divine Mother / in Instagram. I always answer also. So all those modalities are good to join me. They can join me anytime.
Thank you so much for a brilliant show. It was wonderful having you here with us today, and look forward to seeing you on Monday for A Woman's Prerogative.
Thank you very much for having me, Doctor. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye for now. Thank you, everyone. Please do reach out to Reverend Lydia. You can get her information. It's all there in the notes, whether you're watching on the live or the replay. This will also turn into a podcast, so you can listen to it at your leisure as well on the major podcast platforms. All right, we're signing off for now. We're going to go over to our next show, which is The Wise Ones, and we'll see you there. Bye for now.